Okay, hello and welcome to my next video on question number 5 from the IGCSE maths papers. So here we have an angles question based on parallel lines and basic angle rules, including angles of a triangle and angles on a straight line. The question asks us to find the angle ABG, which is this angle here, which has been shaded. Okay, it's always the middle letter angle. Now, they've given us some information. They've given you the 38 degrees. They've given you the 65. Straight off, we can say that this angle here is also 65 degrees because it is the base angle of an isosceles. This means that these two lengths are the same, which means the base angles have to be the same. The other angle which we can deduce straight away is this angle here. Now, this angle makes an angles on a straight line, which add up to 180. So this angle is going to be 180 minus 65 minus 38. Okay, so that is those angles. That gives you an angle of 77 degrees. We then get an angle which creates here, and because it's between parallel lines, creates a Z angle, okay, or an alternate angle. Now this tells me that this 77 degrees here is also the same as the whole angle here of 77 degrees. Okay, so that whole angle is 77 degrees. Now we can work out the smaller part of this angle here. And we can work that out by figuring out the angles in a triangle. So let's sketch the triangle. This is 65 degrees. This is also 65 degrees. So to work out this angle, we're going to do 180 minus 65 minus 65. And that will give us the angle of 50 degrees, which is that one there at the top. So this angle at the top of the triangle is 50 degrees. Okay, so this bit here is 50 degrees. We know the whole angle itself is 77. So that means angle ABG is equal to 77 minus 50, which gives you 27 degrees. That's your final answer. Okay, we've got another speed equals distance divided by time question here. We've got a flight time of 6 hours 42 minutes and we have a speed of 650 kilometers per hour. We are looking for the distance. Now, as I did in my previous video on this, we must convert the time of 6 hours and 42 minutes into hours. So we're going to divide the 42 minutes by 60 to give us 0.7 of an hour. So our time is actually 6.7. So let's fill in what we know. We know the speed is 650. We don't know the distance, but we know the time is 6.7. Now we want to solve this and find out d, so we're going to multiply both sides by 6.7 to give us the distance, which in this case is going to be 4,355 kilometers. Okay, next question is factorizing quadratic. So when you factorize a quadratic, what they are expecting you to do is to go backwards and find the two numbers that need to go into this so that when you expand it back, you end up with that. So what we are looking for are two numbers that multiply to give you negative 36, and then we're looking for two numbers that add to give you the negative 5. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is list the factors of 36. You've got negative 6 and 6. You've got negative 12 and 3. You can have 18 and 2. You can have negative 9 and 4. Now, looking down the list, you know straight away that some of these are not going to work. That's not going to add up to negative 5. Neither is that, and neither is that. This is the only one that has some hope. So negative 9 plus 4 will give you negative 5. So these are the two options I'm going to put in. One goes in this one, and one goes in that one. And there we go. You have factorized your quadratic. Okay, it should always have two brackets. They should always start with an x. And depending on the signs, which is important, Depends on the number in the order in which you do it. It doesn't matter. You can put x plus 4 and then x minus 9 in the second bracket. The order doesn't matter. Okay, we've got another speed, distance, time question here. So again, I'll write down the formula. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. Important information, we've got 8 minutes here, and then we've got a distance of 30.5, and we're looking for the speed. Now, again, time is the most important thing. Now, this is saying kilometers per hour, which tells me that my time of 8 minutes must be converted into hours. And to do that, we divide it by 60. Okay, so that's the first thing you want to do. Now, I'm going to leave it as 8 over 60, or you can simplify it down to 2 over 15 because it is a recurring decimal. So we'll leave it like that, and then we substitute in what we know. So our distance is 30.5, and now our time is 2 over 15. And all we're going to do now is divide the two together. So 30.5 divided by 2 over 15 to give you 228.75 kilometers per hour. And that would be your final answer. Okay, we now have an area question which involves some problem solving, asking us to see if we have enough grass seed for his garden. We've got some important information which I've highlighted, and then we need to work out what to do. So the first thing we need to do is to work out the area of the semicircle. Now, area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. So area of a semicircle is pi times radius squared divided by 2. So what we've got is pi times 7.2 squared, and we're going to divide that by 2, and that will give us the area of this shape. To give us 81.43 meters squared. Now, he has 12 boxes of grass seed. Each box of grass seed contains enough seed to cover 6 meters squared. So we need to work out how much grass seed he needs. So we're going to divide this by 6. And that gives us 13.57 boxes. So we're going to round that up, and we're going to make that 14 boxes of grass seed. The question is that it says, has he got enough? And he's got 12 boxes. So your answer is no, he does not have enough. He does not have enough grass seed because he obviously needs 14 and he only has 12. Okay, another percentages question here where we want the percentage increase. So we're looking from 2017 to 2019 where we've got a difference here. So your percentage increase is your change. So the difference in the two values divided by your original amount multiplied by 100. This will give you your percentage increase. So 765 divided by 7,400 to give you a percentage of 10.2%. Okay. Next question says, in a sale, the normal prices are reduced. So we've got a reduction in price by 30%. The sale price of a t-shirt was 31.8. Okay, so we've got an amount here. We are minusing 30%, and we are given a new price of 31.50. Now, this tells me that this is 70% of the price. Okay, so in order to find out the original price, we are going to divide this by 0.7, and that will give me the full price of the t-shirt, which was £45. Okay, because when it is reduced, and it's reduced by 30%, 30%, we would do 100% minus 30%, which would give me 0.7. So we would normally multiply this, and 0.7 or 70% of the original price is 31.50. That's why we divide by 0.7 to get the original amount. Okay, question we haven't seen so far, question on bounds. So we've got the length of a book, it's 33.8 rounded to 1 decimal place, and we are looking for the lower bound. So what we want to do is, when you are looking for lower bounds, you want to go up and down by another decimal place. So you would, because this is rounded to 1 decimal place, that's 0.1, you divide that by 2 to give you 0.05, and you plus and minus this to both sides of 33.8 to give you the lower bound and the upper bound. Now, the lower bound in this case is going to be 33.8 minus 0.05 to give you 33.75, and then we're going to do 33.8 plus 0.05, and that will give me 33.85. Okay, so we've got a volume question here where we've got a cuboid and a cylinder with some certain dimensions in. Key information here is that the volume of the cuboid is given to you, and what we want to find is the volume of the cylinder. So the first thing we are going to do is find the volume of the cuboid, and we know that's going to be 12 times 5 times x. They've already told us that that is equal to 270 to allow us to find x. Okay, so 60 times x equals 270. Divide both sides by 60 to leave us with a value for x, which is 4.5. Okay, so we now know that this length is 4.5 centimeters. We now need to work out the volume of the cylinder. Now now that we know x is 4.5, so that gives us the radius. That means 2 times 4.5 gives us 9 centimeters. Now the volume of a cylinder is pi times radius squared times the height. Our radius in this case is 4.5 and our height is 9. So we can work this out, and gives us a value of 572.56. Now the question wants us to give this correct to the nearest whole number, so that's going to be 573 because we're going to round up. Okay, the next question wants you to change 1 meter cubed to centimeters cubed. Now, we know that 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. So 1 meter squared is 100 squared for centimeter squared, and 1 meter cubed is 100 cubed. So 100 cubed gives you 1 million. So it would be 1 million centimeters cubed. Okay, we've got a compound interest question here. Now, compound interest is quite a nice question. Comes up quite often. We've information of $7,200 for 3 years in a compound interest saving of 2.5%, and they want to know how much he's going to have at the end of 3 years. So the way you take this is you take the amount that you have invested, you convert the 2.5% into a decimal, so 0.025, by dividing it by 100. We then make this into a multiplier, so then we add a 1 to it to make it 1.025. And it's this multiplier that you raise to the power of however many years you have that money in the account. And then this will give you the value at the end of 3 years, which is 7,753.61. They want it to the nearest dollar, so 7,754 would be rounded up to the nearest dollar. Okay, algebra page of questions here. This is multiplying out the brackets. So 3c cubed times c would give me 3c to the power of 4. And then we would multiply the 3c cubed by 4. So 3 times 4 is 12, and c cubed stays as it is. That would be your final answer. For the second question, it is factorize. Again, this is the one where they want the two brackets, and you want two numbers that multiply to give you -9, but add to give you +8. So how do we make -9? It's -3 and 3. It's -9 and 1. Or 1 and -9, or -1 and +9, and we want them to add up to 8. So we know that this isn't going to work. Now -9 plus 1 gives me -8, so that one doesn't work, but -1 plus 9 is going to give me +8, so this is the combination we need. So one number goes in there and the other one goes in there. So this is x minus 1 and x plus 9. For the second part, when the word says hence, they want you to use the previous part to help you solve this. So you have already factorized this and found that x minus 1 and x plus 9, when you factorize it, that's what you get. Now this equals 0. So what you're going to do is you're going to take each bracket and make it equal to 0. And then you're going to solve for x. So we're going to plus 1 to both sides here. So that gives us x equals 1. And we're going to minus 9 from both sides here to give us x equals -9. So your two solutions are 1 and -9. That's only one mark. You just need to use your previous part to answer that question. Okay, geometry problem solving here. We've got some key information that tells you the area of the square. So this square in the middle is 36 centimeters squared. Now, when you normally do the area of a square, it's the base times the height. So this tells me that the base times the height is equal to 36. Now, because it is a square, both of these numbers have to be the same. So if we square root 36, we get 6, telling me that each length of each of these sides is 6 centimeters. The question is asking us for the total area of the shape. So now that we've got the length of the square, this tells me that this means that the radius of each side is 3 centimeters of the semicircle. So the area of one semicircle is going to be pi times 3 squared divided by 2. I'm going to leave this as 4.5 pi. And we have 4 of them, so we're going to multiply that by 4 because there are 4 semicircles. So that gives me 18 pi. And because we want the total area of the shape, we're going to take our original 36 and we're going to add it to the 18 times pi. And that will give you the total area of 92.5, because it wants it to one decimal place, centimeters squared. Final question for this. This is drawing a linear graph. Now, this is not in the right format. It should always be y equals mx plus c. So the first thing we're going to do is rearrange this. So I'm going to minus 5x to both sides. So you get 2y equals 10 minus 5x. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So that gives me y is equal to, so 10 divided by 2 is 5 minus 5 over 2x. I'm going to leave it in that format. We then are going to create a table from -2 all the way up to 4, because that's what it wants us to do. And we are now going to work out our y values. This is a case of substitution. So for the first one, we're going to do 5 minus 5 over 2 times -2 to give us our first value. So 5 minus 5 over 2 times -2, that gives us our first value of 10. You do the same with the next one, so 5 minus 5 over 2 times -1 to give you 7.5. You then do 5 minus 5 over 2 times 0, that just gives you 5. Now notice we are going down by 2.5 each time, so we can just skip this and do 2.5. This would be 0, this would be minus 2.5, and then this would be minus 5. Okay, so it just gives us that as we go down. We are then going to plot these points. So 2, -2 and 10, so you go across -2 up to 10 and you put a little mark. You do -1 and 7.5, 0 and 5, 1 and 2.5, 2 and 0, 3 and -2.5, and then 4 and -5. Now, you will all do this with a ruler and a pencil. I don't have one on here, so you will connect this as a straight line all the way through. Last questions on these, which is to do with averages. So Yusuf has sat 8 exams. The mark for 5 of his exams are shown, and the results for all 8 exams are given to you in terms of the mode, the median, and the range. You now need to work out the other 3 marks. Now, straight off, we can work out the mode as 80. That tells us that there has to be another 80 in there. We then know that the range of the marks is 16. So 80 minus 16 gives me a value of 64. So 64 must be the other value. Now, the median mark is 74. So that tells me that a number must go in here. So a number plus 75 divided by 2 is going to give me 74. That number has to be 73. So the other 3 marks are 64, 73, and 80.